With the new edition of Warhammer 40,000 out now for just shy of a month, I am still in the process of creating well-functioning lists. Although, or perhaps precisely because, it is not really the natural strength of AdMech to shoot lots of enemies with ease. Purge the Foe got my attention, and I'm in the process of cobbling together a list for this force disposition. On a closer look, some units in the AdMech arsenal can be found that are capable of dealing out a fair bit of damage. Besides the obvious like Iron Striders and Cataphrons, I stumbled over Hastarii a while ago. Whilst I had written them off as rubbish in the last edition, I thought I'd give them another chance in the new edition with lower point costs. I haven't had any experience with them so far and first had to find out what they're actually capable of. So today we're math-hammering Hastarii Exterminators against Hastarii Fusiliers to figure out which one actually earns its slot in an Eradication Cohort list built to kill things. Let's start with the Hastarii Exterminators. Statistically, they're classic elite Skitarii infantry. 5-inch movement, toughness 4, save 3++, a 5+ invulnerable. Save that makes them noticeably more resilient against mortal wounds and high AP weapons than the armor save alone would suggest. With 2 wounds per model and leadership 7+, they're tougher than standard Skitarii rangers, but they're still clearly elite infantry, not exactly Alarus Terminators or something equal. Weapon-wise, they carry 2 systems. The Hastarii Arc Blaster is the anti-tank component. 18-inch range, 1 attack, ballistic skill 4+, strength 6, AP -1, 2 damage, and it comes with anti-vehicle 4+ and devastating wounds. Meaning against vehicles, critical hits automatically become mortal wounds, making it surprisingly dangerous for what's technically the secondary weapon. The real centerpiece of the unit is the Eradication Caster, which comes in 2 profiles. Dissipated fires at 30 inches with 2 attacks, strength 5, AP -1, 2 damage. In the focused profile, it drops the range to 15 inches but bumps AP up to -2. The choice when you're pushing closer and want to punch through tougher armor like Terminators. Both profiles carry anti-infantry 4+. But the unit's real strength is its ability, broad spectrum targeting augers. Every time a model attacks with the Eradication Caster against a target that isn't a monster or vehicle, that attack gains sustained hits 1. That means against regular and heavy infantry, the Exterminators generate extra hits on critical rolls. The Hastarii Fusiliers shared the exact same stat line as the Exterminators: 5-inch movement, toughness 4, 3+ save, 2 wounds, 7+ leadership, 5+ invulnerable. The difference is entirely in the loadout. Their primary weapon is the Neutron Fusil, 24-inch range, only 1 attack, BS 4+, but strength 12, AP -3 and damage D6 +1. On paper this is unmistakably an anti-tank and anti-monster weapon. Strength 12 cuts through almost any vehicle armor, and the variable D6 +1 damage can seriously hurt even bigger targets. As a secondary weapon they carry the Hastarii Phosphor Blaster, 18 inches, 2 attacks, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage, with ignores cover. This fills the gap for targets the Neutron Fusil would overkill or waste shots on, and delivers anti-infantry chip damage without cover watering down the result. The unit's ability, Monocular, targeting helms, reinforces that anti-tank focus even further. Every time a model attacks a monster or vehicle with the Neutron Fusil, that attack gains ignores cover. This is a very narrow, tightly focused ability. It only boosts attacks against large armored targets and does nothing for standard anti-infantry work. Both units share the same attached unit rule. Any character that can normally attach to Skitarii can attach to this unit instead, which opens the door for the Skitarii Marshal and his hit reroll aura, which will be running as a permanent buff throughout the simulations coming up next. Alright, let's get into the numbers. Everything you're about to see includes the Skitarii Marshal's hit reroll aura attached. So this is both units at their supported best, not their raw, unbuffed output. Let's start with the Exterminators against Space Marines using the dissipated profile. Average damage lands at 9.8, models killed sits at 4.18 out of 5, and the wipe chance is 56%. That's already a squad that's functionally gone after 1 round of shooting. Switch to focused mode against the same target and the numbers actually climb higher. 11.98 average damage, 4.58 models killed, and a 75% wipe chance. The tighter AP-2 is doing serious work here, turning what should be the shorter range option into the harder hitting one against Space Marines. Now against Terminators, both profiles fall off. Dissipated drops to 5.53 average damage and 1.21 models killed, while Focused recovers some ground at 7.23 average damage and 1.63 models killed. Terminator's 2+ save and extra wounds per model clearly blunt the caster's output, but Focused's AP2 still gives it a real edge over Dissipated here. So across all 4 Exterminator scenarios, the pattern is clear. Against standard infantry like Space Marines, this unit is a genuine wipe threat, especially in Focused mode. Against Terminators, it slows to a grind, killing maybe 1 to 2 models a turn. Now the Fusiliers. Against Space Marines, average damage is actually the highest we've seen at 13.33. But models killed only reaches 3.15 out of 5 and the wipe chance sits at just 15.4%. Against Terminators, damage drops sharply to 7.59, models killed falls to 1.39, and the wipe chance is basically 0 at 0.2%. Here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. The Fusiliers deal more raw damage than the Exterminators against Space Marines, but kill fewer models and have a far lower wipe chance. The reason is the Neutron Fusil's D6+1 damage profile. With only 1 shot per model, the Fusiliers simply don't generate enough hits to spread that damage across the squad. Since Space Marines only have 2 wounds each, a lot of that D6+1 damage gets wasted overkilling models that were already dead. High total damage, but poor model removal. So the Fusiliers are clearly built for anti-tank work. But how do they actually stack up against the other anti-vehicle options in our Eradication Cohort list? Let's run the numbers against a Defiler. The Hastarii Fusiliers with a Skitarii Marshal attached deal 7.87 damage to the Defiler. That's the highest raw damage output of everything we're comparing today. Now let's look at the Iron Strider Ballistarii. The Laser Chicken, running twin-less cannons. This unit costs 60 points less than the Fusiliers, factoring in the Marshal attached to the Hastarii. But to get comparable hit rerolls, the Chicken needs Belisarius' Call on the table, adding another 220 points for his Invocation of Machine Vengeance ability. With that support, the Iron Strider deals 5.3 damage to the same Defiler, noticeably less than the Fusiliers, and at a much higher total point investment once Call is factored in. Cataphron Breachers perform even worse in this matchup. A unit of 3 costs 150 points and gets hit rerolls for free near battle line units. No character tax required, but their damage output against the Defiler is only 4.51, the lowest of the 3 options. So purely on damage, the Hastarii Fusiliers actually come out on top as the best anti-tank option in this comparison. But there's a serious catch: mobility. The Fusiliers only have a 5-inch movement characteristic, genuinely slow for a unit that needs to threaten vehicles across the board. The Cataphron Breachers share that same 5-inch movement, but their weapon range more than makes up for it. 30 inches at full range, and at 15 inches they get rapid fire too, doubling their shot count. That 15-inch range is only 3 inches short of the Fusiliers' combined effective range when firing both weapons at 18 inches. And if the Fusiliers only fire the Neutron Fusil at its 24-inch range, that's 9 inches more than the Breacher's rapid-fire threat range. But remember, using only the Fusil alone drops their damage output too. And then there's the Laser Chicken, which just outclasses both of them on mobility, 48-inch weapon range and 10-inch movement. Nothing here comes close to threatening vehicles from that kind of distance while staying safely in the backfield. Bottom line, the Fusiliers hit hardest on paper, but their combination of short legs and short to mid weapon range makes them meaningfully harder to actually get into position compared to the Exterminator's more forgiving infantry hunting role, or compared to a Ballistarius that simply doesn't need to get close at all. So where does this leave us? The Exterminators are a genuinely good pick as an anti-infantry unit in a Purge the Foe list, and the points cost is very manageable. 3 units of Exterminators as a dedicated anti-infantry package is absolutely worth trying. The Fusiliers, on the other hand, still seem to be looking for their role, at least in my list. Between their short movement and their weapon's limited threat range, I'll be sticking with Iron Strider Ballistary as my anti-tank option going forward. For those tougher, heavier infantry targets, I'll probably be taking a closer look at Cataphrons, Castellans and Dragons next and running some more numbers on them. So, how are you using the Hastarii? Are they even in your lists right now? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video and picked up something useful from it.